For years, Oumuamua was just a name, strange, almost awkward to say, a fleeting entry in astronomy journals. A ghostly visitor that baffled science and then slipped away into the dark as if it had never been here at all. First spotted in 2017, slicing through the solar system at a speed no asteroid or comet could match, it moved too fast, spun too erratically, and showed none of the visible traces, no glowing tail, no dust cloud. That should have explained its path. It even accelerated slightly as it left, a subtle but undeniable drift away from the gravitational calculations that should have bound it. It broke every rule we thought we understood about wandering objects from deep space. And then, just as suddenly as it appeared, it was gone, fading into the void. Theories swarmed in its wake. Some said it was a comet unlike any we'd ever seen. Others argued it was an asteroid ejected from another star system. A few, bolder voices suggested it could be a fragment of an alien spacecraft, maybe even a probe. But attention faded. The news cycle moved on, and Oumuamua was relegated to an odd footnote in the story of our search for life. Until now. Because something has happened, something no one can explain. From the very region of space where Oumuamua should be, had it continued on its projected course, a signal has been detected. Faint, but deliberate. Not random static, not cosmic background noise, but a pulse. A pattern. A transmission. And with it comes a chilling implication. Oumuamua didn't just pass through. It was watching. And now, it might be coming back. And it's not alone. When astronomers at the Pan-STARRS Observatory in Hawaii first caught sight of it in October 2017, the excitement was immediate. The trajectory was unlike anything in the solar system. It wasn't just elliptical like the paths of planets and comets, it was hyperbolic, coming from somewhere far beyond, swinging past the sun once and then gone forever. But its shape was stranger still. It reflected sunlight in a way no rounded rock or icy body would. Some models showed it as a metallic shard, others as an impossibly flat, elongated wafer, almost like a solar sail. It tumbled chaotically, its light signature fluctuating in irregular intervals, suggesting a complex, uneven surface. And then there was the acceleration. As it drifted away, beyond Mars, beyond Jupiter, it sped up, not by much, but enough to be noticed. With comets, such acceleration comes from jets of sublimating ice spraying into space. But Oumuamua had no coma, no tail, no evidence of venting material. The math was inescapable. Something was pushing it, and no one could say what. Some scientists suggested radiation pressure from sunlight, an effect that could move an object if it were thin enough. Others began whispering that maybe it wasn't natural at all. But before anyone could gather enough evidence to decide, it was gone, beyond the reach of even our most powerful telescopes. Years passed. And then, without warning, it returned, not in body but in voice. Radio telescopes, still listening out of habit, caught something one quiet morning. A burst of structured radio waves broke the static. Faint, yes, but with rhythm. Precision. This was not a random flare from a dying star, not the chaotic whisper of a pulsar. It was deliberate. At first, engineers blamed interference, maybe a satellite transmission or a glitch in the receiver array. But the data held up under scrutiny. And when the signal was triangulated, its origin matched Oumuamua's projected location almost perfectly, down to a fraction of a degree. This was no echo. The frequency was alien to our technology. The pattern repeated like clockwork, and it carried a complexity that couldn't be dismissed as natural. It wasn't a distress call. It wasn't even, apparently, an invitation. It was more like a trigger, a signal meant for someone or something else. And we had only intercepted it by accident. What came next changed everything. Once confirmed, the transmission was analyzed by deep learning algorithms at NASA and other agencies. Within days, they found it contained data, not random noise but embedded structure. The pulse pattern echoed prime numbers and mathematical constants, the universal fingerprints of intelligence. But buried deeper, hidden in subtle modulations of the wave, was something far more unsettling, a fragment of sound. It was warped, slowed down, and distorted by time, but unmistakable. It was the voice of a child, speaking in English. "Hello from the children of planet Earth." It was our message. The greeting recorded on the Voyager Golden Record and sent into space in 1977. Only now, it was coming back to us, decades later, from a place no human had ever been. The signal wasn't just acknowledging us, it was mimicking us. Telescopes across the globe turned toward that invisible point in the dark. Infrared scans picked up something faint, an object too cold to be seen in visible light, trailing just behind Oumuamua's projected course. Smaller than the original, colder, yet following the same trajectory almost exactly. A shadow. A companion. The realization struck like ice. If Oumuamua had never been alone, what else had slipped past our defenses without notice? Was this second object a relay? A receiver? Or worse, a messenger heading back to wherever Oumuamua had come from? Then came the second signal. This one arrived from a slightly different point in space, offset by a few degrees, as though from another traveler on a parallel path. It was more complex than the first, layered with varying frequencies and amplitudes, carrying far more information. At first, researchers thought it unrelated. But when the two signals were analyzed together, they fit, like two halves of a whole. And the complete message wasn't a star map, as many had expected. It was a timeline, a sequence of events marked by astronomical and geological phenomena in our solar system. Jupiter's radio bursts, Saturn's auroras, and even the pattern of seismic activity on Earth itself. Whoever had sent it didn't just know where we were. They knew when we were listening. Historical data was scoured for missed clues, and what emerged was worse than anyone feared. In infrared surveys going back more than a decade, faint tracks matching Oumuamua's unique thermal profile appeared again and again, in places and times no one had ever noticed before. At least 3 other objects, all on hyperbolic paths, had entered and left the solar system in silence. None were reported at the time. Whether they had been overlooked or intentionally concealed, no one could say. Suddenly, a disturbing question emerged. If these others had sent signals too, had we simply been too primitive to detect them? And then, just as public curiosity began to boil, the silence descended. Open-access telescope data vanished from archives. Research networks went quiet. Observatories reported unexplained technical failures when attempting to scan the region of space where the signals originated. Internal memos leaked from 2 major facilities advised all staff to forward anomalous signal data to internal review teams, and to avoid discussing it externally. Whatever this was, it had stopped being purely a scientific question. It was now about control. The final piece came from a leak. A projection model from a Chilean observatory showed the true trajectories of Oumuamua and the shadow object. Not just in relation to the solar system, but in the context of our galaxy's motion. When adjusted for our orbit around the galactic center, the 2 paths slowly curved toward the same destination. A dark, uncharted region dense with gravitational anomalies, choked with radio noise, avoided by nearly every major survey mission. Some believe it is a natural dead zone. Others think it could be a hub, a meeting point, a station, or something older, far beyond our understanding. And Oumuamua, along with its companion, is heading straight toward it. Which means if they were sent here once, they could be sent again. We thought it was just a rock. We hoped it was a comet. Some feared it was a probe. But now, with signals decoded, data buried, and more than one of these visitors confirmed, the truth is harder to ignore. Oumuamua didn't just pass by. It left a mark. It left a message. It left a map. And it was never alone.